Movie night did not disappoint. Baby, they came with receipts, timestamps, and absolutely no mercy. Now, here's the thing. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I personally just feel like the girls did too much, okay? Love the girls down, but it was a lot of double standards up in that villa, cause ain't no way, y'all. Let's be real here for a moment. If the roles were reversed and the guys behaved or responded the way that the girls did, we would definitely be singing a different song. But y'all aren't ready to be real. But let's talk about it.
Kay Unscripted, no teeth restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is Kay Unscripted. I'm your girl Kay, and today we're breaking down Love Island USA Season 8, Episode 25. And this is the episode that everyone has been waiting for. We've been requesting it, and it's here. It's movie night. But before we break down all the juice from this episode, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more recaps like this one. So let's talk about this episode. So it starts off with Casey and Titi talking. He just had his conversation with Anaya, and he's kind of filling her in on the conversation. He tells her that their perspectives were different, but Titi's like, but why are you looking so down, right? So he says that he feels bad because she thinks that he lied, but he did care about Anaya, but they decided to be cordial with each other at the end of the day, right? Then she asked him, well, when Bryce told you he became a boyfriend, what was your reaction? And Casey said he was happy for him and how he feels like Bryce feels things very heavy. Now, Titi said, well, I hope they're still together 2 months from now, okay? And I said, me too. Me too, Titi, okay? She said she hopes that they're also at that level in 2 months, and it's just something that's going to have to grow. Now, I saw a lot of people saying that Titi was being shady. Where was the shade? Is the shade in the room with us? Because I didn't see any shade. Also, we have to keep in mind that Titi is in the villa. She is seeing things, she's privy to conversations that we don't, okay? We don't have. Now, I know y'all want to sell this Trinity and Bryce situation, but some of us are just not buying it, okay? Still to this day, not buying it. Okay, let's move on. So Naya and Carl talk. He asked if money wasn't an issue, what would she be spending her time doing? So she said she would have a cabin or she would travel the world because she likes being outdoors and she's into nature. So he said he would just dance, and I said, really, Carl? Definitely grandpa vibes. I guess you'll have something in common. Then he asked about her chat with Casey, and she said it was good. He apologized, and she's just happy that it's done. She says she feels good about her connection with Carl and that talking to him is really easy. And then she cozies up to him. He said he is happy that she's here. And then they start kissing, right? And it didn't just stop there. She straddled Carl, okay? And I said, this is not the same girl who was just sad, right? And also, Carl, you said you would have to make her work for it, right? Because your walls were up. I guess your walls are not up. Where are the walls? Where are the walls? Did they disappear? It definitely did, okay? So Jen's sitting with Jaden, Corbin, and Palmida, right? So she's telling them about what went down with her and Gaul, right? She said he's a great person, but they just don't mesh. She says she ended things with him, but from what we saw, that's not how it happened. It looked like he initiated the breakup, right? So Corbin says, let me just let y'all have your girls talk, and he stepped away. So Jen says, well, he was going in circles, and I told him this isn't going anywhere because he's a scared pussy ass. I said, okay, period. Because he's afraid that the girls aren't going to want to talk to him. That didn't make sense at all though, right? So she says, well, he's talking about girls, but the only girl he's been chatting with is Kenzie. She said she's not the type to cry over no dude because it shouldn't be this hard to find a connection. So I was just about to say too that we haven't really seen much of Jaden and Caleb, but then she shares that she's been with guys who are a lot more assertive and dominant, and she's scared to hurt Caleb. And I just feel like this is a conversation to have with Caleb instead of telling the girls. But we've barely seen those two, they barely get any screen time, and it's almost like we may have forgotten that they're in the villa. Okay, so then we move on to Dylan and Kenzie, right? So she tells Dylan that she had a good chat with Gaul and that she loves physical touch, and implying that there was a lot of physical touch happening during her conversation with Gaul and that they ended up kissing, right? So she then says that she's been wanting to have that conversation because otherwise, in her head, it would have been a question mark. And that conversation, along with the kissing, made her realize that she has feelings for Dylan. And I said, what? So you had to kiss another guy to confirm that you have actual feelings for another guy? Make it make sense. That makes no type of sense. The moment she said that, Dylan was struggling, right? He was struggling. So he says to her that he didn't know they would be making out. Kenzie's now saying, oh, but I have these feelings for you and I see myself out of here with you. But girl, you also said that with Gaul. You said that to every other guy you were in a connection with. You said it to Corbin. You said it to Sean. You said it to Caleb. You said it to all of the other guys. So what is happening? I cannot wait for Kenzie to be exposed. I just really cannot wait for us to see, for everybody to see what she's been doing. So anyways, Dylan starts crying. He gets emotional. She's saying that it hurts her heart to see him so sad. She's telling him that she's so sorry. And he's like, but there was no need to explore if we have something good. So the guy is crying, right? And I said, Dylan, you saw the episodes before coming to Casa. What made you think that Kenzie wouldn't have continued to do the things that she was doing? But anyways, he's crying and he's wiping his eyes on his shirt, and there were no Lord have mercy, there were no tear stains. Where were the tears, baby? Where were the tears? Because I didn't see one dot on his shirt. Did y'all see any dot on his shirt? Not even his eye looked watery. Like, where were the tears? So then he's walking past Kada and Zach, and Zach asks him like, are you okay? What's up? And then he tells Zach that Clown Z kissed Gaul, right? And they feel so bad for him. They hug him and he's just, fake crying or whatever it is he was doing. Then we see a conversation between Naya and Sincere, right? And if I'm not mistaken, they speak about this friendship that they have. We haven't really seen that friendship, quote unquote friendship, right? This is the first time we're seeing it. Okay. So anyways, she's giving him the tea on her chat with Carl and also thanks him for being there for her, which is confusing to me because we also saw Sincere tell Titi that Casey is better with her than with Anaya, and that's going to come up later in movie night. So she then checks in on how things are with him, and he says that Amora and Melanie talked, but he's not trying to explore Amora any further. He just wants to focus on his connection with Melanie, and in fact wants to close things off with her. Hey, I said hey. Crazy. He was saying like he didn't want to take the moment away from Trinity and Bryce, and so that's why he didn't really ask her. He also did say, I'm not saying that I'm asking her now. But anyways, I don't really see that happening because baby, the shit that's about to come down and go down in this villa, since it's not looking good for you. So the islanders head to bed, and it looks like Dylan and Kenzie did the do. Okay, he's not sad anymore. So it's the next morning, and in the room they asked Casey about his chat with Anaya, and he said he didn't really get to express himself. And I said, yikes, this has been a pattern Y'all are not letting this man say what he needs to say, and I just really don't like that. I don't think it's fair, and I don't know why Casey is getting treated that way. That's just not right. So we then see Kenzie and Anaya talk. Anaya says she feels good after her chat with Casey. So she asks how things went with Gaul. Kenzie said it was good, but she says that she feels deeper things for Dylan. She has more feelings for Dylan. I said, Kenzie, my Lord and my God, what is happening with Kenzie? Seriously, the more I think about Kenzie though, Kenzie is who y'all thought Corbin and Gabriel were. In fact, mix the two of them, put them together, Gabriel and Corbin. This is Kenzie, okay? So she said she's happy. She and God talked, but now she just wants to focus on Dylan. So she tells Anaya that Dylan didn't take things very well and how he started crying because she and Gaul kissed. And my whole thing is, why do they never call Clownsy out on the things that she does? She tells them certain things and they just take it. They don't say anything to her. They all kind of give her a pass. She says to her, a kiss is like a handshake. She's checking to see if there's chemistry. And I said, what? So you kiss any and every stray dog you meet, Kenzie? Is that what you're trying to say? And what I'm thinking is, Kenzie came into the villa so that she could be the real her. I don't feel like she could have been her true self in that small hometown that she came from. And so she's kind of trying to get her glow up on Love Island. That's what it's giving. I don't know. Kenzie, I'm starting to think that you really didn't go to nursing school, because there's no way you say you went to nursing school and this is what your brain level is. What is happening? Anyways, Gal wants advice dealing with his love triangle. So he talks to Carl about it. And so he's telling him that he and Kenzie kissed and how she was waiting for that to happen. She's saying that she wants to explore the connection with him, but he feels the same way too, that he wants to keep connecting with Kenzie. But now he's having second thoughts about it. He then says that she's been in this situation many times, being wanted by multiple guys multiple times, and wonders if she just likes having that attention, if she just likes having guys, more than one guy, pursue her. He says that he would like to get to know Amora, and I said, not him thinking that he has a chance with Amora. What? Have you seen Girl? Oh my goodness. Anyways, I just feel like now he's going to hop on the train because he probably realized that Kenzie is not really giving him any kind of energy anymore. So he wants to stay into the villa, and so he's going to try to quote unquote connect with Amora so he could stay in the villa. Not happening. Not happening at all. So he asked about Carl and Anaya, and Carl said he wanted to take things slow, but that went out the way real quick because he and Anaya ended up kissing, and he said his heart felt full afterwards. He had the butterflies and whatnot. Okay, so Jen and Kata talk, and so Kata's like, girl. So Zach and I were chilling on the couch, and we see Dylan walking past us looking all emotional and sad and whatnot, right? And he tells us that Kenzie kissed Carl. So Jen's like, what? And she's just nodding her head because she probably already knows that would have happened. Probably telling herself, I knew it, I knew it, I knew it, right? And she's probably clocking that, oh, this is why Carl wanted to end things with me, because he wanted to fully pursue Clownsy, right? So Jen says she doesn't care that they kissed, but how does everyone know that piece of information except her? And then why does she have to find out through Kiddo? I mean, the least Clownsy could have done when she called her her friend, her so-called friend, could have just pulled her to the side and let her know what went down, especially because they agreed to have transparency, right? She says, love the girl, but I don't know. She loves attention, and at this point, it's a cycle with Clownsy. This is the shit she does, and it's not okay, right? Because it's giving that Clownsy wants to pursue two guys, and she clearly thinks that she's that girl and she's not. Okay, Jen said it's not that she cannot pick between two guys, it's giving she needs attention to survive in the villa, and that's not cute. Period. I agree. I agree. So now Jen pulls Clownsy to talk, right? So Kenzie starts by saying that she was curious about Gaul and that they went to speak easy and kissed. So Jen was like, I know, I've been told, and I wish I didn't find out from other people when we said we were going to be transparent with each other. So she says to her, girl, why did it have to come to this? So that you can now come to a realization about who you really want. And I kept asking you, what was Dylan missing? You had no response. You couldn't tell me. And now it's a cycle with you, Clownsy. It's a cycle with you wanting and having two guys pursue you. Dylan was hurt, and so he had to be blindsided. And also, when I think about it, Caleb too was blindsided by you, and that's not fair, right? Jen tells her she's selfish and she is an attention seeker. Now, baby, Kenzie was taken aback. She didn't like that, right? So she starts by saying what we all knew she was going to say. If I have a connection with someone, I am going to explore. But Jen didn't let her finish her little sentence. She straight up told her, look, if this wasn't Love Island, I would not be your friend. I wouldn't trust you. And Jen, you still have the chance to not be her friend and not trust her. Because the way she's been moving is dangerous, okay? Right? And so Kenzie doesn't get it. She thinks that Jen is mad at her for exploring. But Kenzie, you call this girl your best friend and you go behind her back and kiss the guy she likes. And it's all about the principle. But also, Jen, I need to remind you that you were doing the same thing with Clownsy, encouraging her to take Corbin away from Melanie when they were trying to explore the connection. So now Karma has kind of slapped you in the face because you were laughing about Melanie and she ended up doing the same thing to you, right? Also, back at Clownsy, why are we expecting this girl to have any type of standards when we see how she gets down? And then she tries to manipulate Jen and try to guilt trip her by saying, oh, I'm not a bad person and I'm not a bad friend. But girl, you are. You are a bad friend. Let's be honest here. What you're doing is horrible. And you cannot stand the fact that you're being called out for it. You didn't like it. And she is right about you. You are a bad friend. Anyways, we see Cynthia teaching Melanie sign language, but he already taught Amor first, okay? So he spells her name in ASL, and clearly that was all the girl needed because she's good. She's starting to feel the connection with Cynthia. Not for long though, not for long, right? Now, Kenzie takes her behind because she's butthurt that Jen called her out. And she goes talk to Dylan, thinking that Dylan would have been on her side. So she's telling him about the comment Jen made about her because, like I said, she can't stand the fact that she's being called out for being a horrible friend. So he says that Jen is clearly upset, but he understands where she's coming from. And so for him, he was fine with her getting to know someone else, but didn't understand why they needed to make out. So he's trying to find out if she is 100% into him. And then she says she does want to pursue just him and doesn't want to explore another connection. She doesn't want to explore anyone else, but why did she look so devastated and pissed off when she said that? Clearly, this is not what she wanted to do. Okay, it showed all over her face. So then Melanie gets a text letting the islanders know that it is movie night, and immediately everyone looks nervous. Melanie was like, can we not enjoy the day? Can we not have a good time? No, okay? Y'all were having too much of a good time, okay? And then here comes Zach trying to confess to Kida. And she was just like, please go away. You're pissing me off, okay? Because here's the thing. He knows he's about to get in trouble. So he thinks by telling Kida now is going to make things better. No, it's not. So everyone gets ready and they're trying to figure out what they did and what they said because everything is about to get exposed, okay? Also, we see Kenzie while the girls are getting ready tell them, let's just have each other's back. And I said, hold on, Clownsy. Let's see how they react when they see the things you were saying. Okay, how about that? So I'm just going to give my thoughts because we've seen what they're seeing. So I'm just going to say what we saw and my opinion on how things played out. So we see that boys first, they get selected, and it was Corbin. He chose door 6, and it was Zach with the racist girl. And so they showed us Kada crying over Zach, and they showed us everything that went down between Zach and the racist girl. And in my opinion, I don't feel like Zach's tape was really that bad. I wish they would have shown us the clips with him and Bryce. Where was that? Because we definitely asked for it. I definitely said I needed the girls to see that, but they didn't show it. But Zach apologizes and said it hurts for him to see Kida crying, and she said she has nothing to say, but seeing it back definitely brought back old feelings for her. He continues to say that he wasn't really feeling the connection with that girl, and he was still leaving out the fact that the girl was forced to leave the villa. And he said that he'd rather come back to the villa with her being annoyed at him instead of not coming back to her at all. But the girls were real quiet during this exchange. Not a soul interrupted them. They let Zach speak and they let Kada speak. We get into the double standards later. Okay, so up next was door 8, and it was Casey. And this one was a hot mess, okay? I have a lot of opinion. Okay, so we see that conversation with him and Corbin where he called Anaya grandma. We also see him with TT. And when that was being played out, Anaya was like, that was quick. And I'm like, girl, so were you, because you kissed Carl the same night outside of the challenge. Okay, so stop. Okay, so then they show his conversation also with Sydney. We also see him saying he has nothing in common with Anaya. Then we see Sincere telling TT that Casey is different with her. We see him making the comment about her being on a thin line. We also see when he chose TT and what he said. So in the middle of that, we kind of see Kada clocking that the racist girl isn't in any of those clips at the recoupling. And she's like, but where is she? And so I think it was Jaden who told her that she left Casa, and she's like, but nobody told me that. And they're like, but we thought you knew that, thinking that maybe perhaps Zach may have told her that, but clearly that didn't happen, right? Okay, so it's Casey's time to to talk, right? Everything has transpired, and he tries to apologize, and I was like, I don't want to hate, right? He said there were good things and bad things shown, but overall it doesn't look good, right? Damn right, it doesn't. But he said he's sorry not only to Anaya once again, but to all of the girls. And so Trinity again decides to butt in. And my thing is, why is Trinity always pushing her nose where it doesn't belong, especially when it comes to Casey? It's giving that they have some kind of beef. What happened, Trinity? Did he reject you? What is going on? Because it has to be more than him making that comment about you and Bryce. That still we know Bryce came to you wrong about, right? And I hope they show us that too. But what is your beef with Casey? Because the thing is, Anaya is not even bugging, right? She wasn't even upset. But here you go again, Trinity, asking why he dragged the connection when they've been coupled up from day one, if he's saying that he has nothing in common with Anaya. But Anaya also said the same thing too. And how she's saying that he should have been patient with Anaya, right? Because of the whole physical thing. And like I said, in my opinion, I don't feel like Casey was saying that he wanted to French fry and I think he was just saying that he wanted kisses in bed and that sort of thing. I don't think he was asking to go all that way, because he's been very respectful with TT as well, right? So I don't think that's what Casey was asking of when it came to Anaya. And clearly we've seen Anaya act differently with Carl as compared to Casey. Let's not forget, she earlier in the episode she just straddled the Carl. Have we ever seen her be that way with Casey? No. So it's giving she didn't like Casey. Okay, let's be honest here, y'all. Let's be real. Okay, let's get our feelings out of it and let's focus on what we're seeing, right? So then Melanie jumps in as well. She says that Casey used Anaya to stay longer in the villa, and I said no, they used each other, okay? Because who else was Anaya connecting with before Casa? Nobody. Nobody, right? Anaya kept saying that he was playing it safe, and I said, girl, you too, right? So Corbin was like, how was he playing it safe? How was he playing it safe? And so they start going off on Corbin, asking him if he's dumb, is he deaf, or is he blind? And so we also realized, or I also realized, that the minute Trinity and Melanie started bumping their gums louder, Anaya started doing the same thing. Because again, the whole time she was quiet, it didn't really bother her that much because Casey had already apologized. She didn't see what went down, but he had already apologized, and she was like, it's cool, I don't need anything from you. Up until her homegirls stepped in and started shouting and getting disrespectful, did Anaya also get up and start doing the same thing, right? Now, once they start calling out the boys, Bryce starts saying that he told you he was going to explore, right? He told you to do the same. So then Trinity, his girlfriend, said, well, do you think what he did was cool? And then he starts backpedaling. And he's like, oh, I didn't know what he was doing. That doesn't look good at all. A second ago, you were coming to Casey's rescue. But now you start stammering because Trinity's on your neck. Granted, the things that Casey said were wrong. There's no way to justify what Casey said. He was wrong. Okay? And then Titi's like, well, y'all were telling me how happy he looked. Every single one of y'all was saying y'all have never seen him this happy. So don't try to backpedal now. And I said, period. Clock them, okay? She says, y'all are not defending your friend, but when we were in Casa, that's not how y'all were. Now, in front of these girls, it's something different. And this is what we've seen with these guys. So Trinity is telling him, oh, say what he needs to say. And then he's like, but I'm trying, right? Y'all are not letting him speak at all. Every time he tries to speak, y'all are interrupting him. You are jumping down his throat. And you'll start telling him to speak up. And then when he starts to speak up, you'll tell him to shut the F up, right? And so TT also pointed that out to them, like, y'all jumped this guy because he came into the villa with a connection. And as many times as Casey tried to get his point across, they kept on speaking over him and interrupting him. They were not letting him get a word in. And honestly, it was like round 2 at the recoupling. I don't think that's fair. Let's be honest. I don't think that is fair. So then Kayla's like, wait, I just found out some information. So you're telling me that the racist girl left the villa, right? So if she didn't leave, were you going to pick her? And Zach's like, no, I made my decision before she left. Here's what I think, right? I think had they not pulled the racist girl out of the villa, he would have done the same thing that Cynthia did. Keep exploring her, keep kissing her, keep touching her, doing all of the things that he was doing, but he would have come back to the villa single. I feel like this is what Zach would have done. Okay, so we move on to the next clip, and it's Anaya saying that she's about to do her big one. We see Trinity telling her to bring someone back. We also see the clip of her saying she's ready to be open and explore. We see her with Carl, all of the kisses she shared with Carl, and we see the girls like, oh, and they're laughing and cheering for Anaya. She's laughing and she's like, it's giving rom-com. We love a rom-com. That's what she's saying, right? Okay, so the guys were not impressed, and they're like, it's giving double standards. There's a lot of double standards happening in the villa, and it's crazy. And I said, indeed, the double standards are crazy, right? You and Casey did the same thing, except that he took it too far with the side remarks that he made. Now, they're all yelling, okay? And Cynthia's talking, and he's like, I'm talking. Y'all need to shut up. I'm only speaking to Anaya. I'm not speaking to none of y'all. And watch how they all shut their mouths real quick. I said, oh ho. So y'all were just jumping down Casey's throat, telling him to shut the F up and all type of things when it was his moment to speak. But when it came to Cynthia, y'all definitely shut the F up, right? Okay. So Cynthia tells them, y'all did the same thing. The only difference is that Casey said some things that were disrespectful. And so Anaya says that she doesn't care that he came back with Titi. She thinks Titi is beautiful and whatnot. And I'm going to have to call her out on that because that is not true. You do care that you didn't get picked by Casey, first of all, right? So then Zach tells her, but you didn't know what Casey did until now. But when he came back from Casa, all of y'all were shouting at him. And she's saying, we saw the live. We saw the heart rate challenge. Okay, so you saw the live, you saw the heart rate challenge and felt that then he was disrespectful to you. But then come to recoupling and you choose to want to stay in a connection with someone who disrespected you in that way. Isn't that playing it safe, Anaya? Girl, please. Please. Alright, you're going outside, Anaya. Please. I don't like Zach, but he was right in that moment. So then Titi says, if you chose to couple up with Carl and he came in single, the boys wouldn't have ganged up on you, right? They would have respected your decision. But that didn't happen. So the fact that he came in with me, you would have been mad regardless. And then y'all jumped on him for finding a connection. Titi didn't even finish speaking. Here goes Kida. Oh, now I'll do it again. And then Trinity is also saying, I'll do it again. And I said, okay, baby, keep that smoke for y'all guys, right? Because y'all know y'all mens have been bumping and grinding on each other when they clearly want each other more than they want y'all. So how about y'all focus on that, please, okay? Y'all are doing too much. When y'all should be standing up, y'all don't stand up, okay? But y'all were coming down on Casey. And again, let me just make it clear. Casey was wrong for the things he said about Anaya. But he had every right to explore his connection just like Anaya explored her connection, okay? So then Casey's saying how they gave him heat and they gave Titi heat as well. But give him all the heat because he didn't have nothing to do with it, right? And so Casey stood up because I personally think he shouldn't have stood up, right? That is just not something you do in arguments. Standing up can be a form of intimidation, okay? But I feel like he also stood up because they were not giving him a chance to speak at all. Because every time he tried to, they told him to shut up. So then Anaya stands up too and she starts walking up on Casey. Casey sits down, right? And she's in the man's face, clapping her hands, shouting. And when I looked over at the other girls, you could see everybody knew she messed up. You see how they all got quiet in that moment? She walked up on him and she was yelling in his face and everybody else was quiet in disbelief, right? Literally slouching her body down to get in Casey's face. Anaya, I hope you go home. Seriously. Because that reaction was so unnecessary. And here's what I think about Anaya. What I've realized is this is not Anaya. This is not the real Anaya. Will the real Anaya please stand up, okay? This is definitely out of character for her. And yes, I know that there are times or situations that would cause you to be out of character. But her being out of character is because she wants to impress her girls. That's simply all it is. We've seen the way Kayla, Trinity, and Melanie have been behaving and calling people out, and she wants to impress them when she knows it's not in her nature to be that kind of person, right? So anyways, we move on to the next episode, the next person, sorry. and it's time for some more bullshit with Insincere. So we see all of his chats with Saul, all of the kisses, all of the lies between Saul and Melanie. We see how he was also calling both of them beloved back to back, right? And everyone looks so shocked by what they saw with Sincere. But when we looked at Melanie, when I looked at Melanie, she looked so sad, and seriously, she looked like she was falling apart. Now, Sincere gives his little explanation and says that he does say a lot, and really and truly, I was waiting for all the smoke to get to Sincere, because what he did was way worse than what Casey did. But again, the double standards. Okay, we also didn't get to see everything with Amora. I don't know if that's coming out in part 2. But poor Melanie, she had no words. She was just sitting there crying. She was shaking, asking the girls to hold her hand. She was just sad and she looked so broken. And that's as far as we got to see. We know that part 2 is coming out soon, and we know some more shit is about to go down. But y'all, please drop all of your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed the recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye!